to Sandown. This is the V8 Ultimate, race 1 of 3 this weekend. 150-kilometre race this afternoon and 2 tomorrow. There is still so much to drive for. Very exciting times. Scaife has the championship, but the battle is really on for second.
Yeah, it sure is. How close is it? 84 points now after the top 10 shootout between the top competitors. We'll get to that a bit later on. The Shell Helix starting grid tells the story. Mark Scaife and Greg Murphy, Todd Kelly, 3 TWR Commodores in the top 3 spots. Well, boy, they're looking pretty dominant toward the end of the year. Marcus Ambrose, the best of the forwards. He's got a crook neck, though. Struggling with the sore neck there. Jason Bright and Russell Engel, Paul Radisich and Stephen Ellery in the top 8. Very strong field here at Sandown. Glenn Seaton made the top 10. He was in 9th. Larry Perkins, Stephen Richards, David Bernard. Craig Lowndes unfortunately had a bit of a shocker in the top 15 shootout. He starts from 14. And Stephen Johnson did not make the top 15 cut this round. Paul Whelan, Mark Larkham, Jason Bargwana and Garth Tander, the 2 Valvoline guys, round out the top 20. Boy, they're struggling here this weekend. Paul Romano and Tony Longhurst. Brad Jones in the Aussie Mail Ford, another one a bit further back than he'd like to be, and Jason Richards in the Team Kiwi machine. We know that Jones can work his way through the field, though. Matthew White makes a return to the championship. He's in car 76, but starting a long way back in 30th position, and Thomas Mazzera and his team had to work hard overnight to get that car ready for the racetrack today. A full grid of 32. Let's take you through the in-car cameras. Paul Radisich is the first one. Thanks to Shell Helix, we'll ride with the Rat at Sandown, and he goes well at this Victorian circuit. Well, he certainly won here last year. The Ford fans in a frenzy. He's struggling a little bit this year, though. He may get up to the top spot. Strathfield in-car camera with Russell Engel. He really wants to take second in this championship. 3 times the bridesmaid he'll be if he manages to achieve that feat. The Kmart in-car camera for Greg Murphy, the king of Pukekohe, and he is still riding high on confidence and motivation, and that was such a thrill for him to be quickest in every single session over there. Craig Lowndes at the wheel of the Batmobile. They're calling that, look at that funny steering wheel he's got in it. It's been one of the big features of the in-car cameras. A lot of questions asked about it. And he had a real problem in the top 15 shootout. Got it all wrong, and that's cost him a lot of track position for the start. The VB in-car camera with the newly crowned champion Mark Scaife. Boy, did he muscle the HRT Commodore around this 3.1-kilometre circuit in the top 15. Did a wonderful job, and that's why he starts from the #1 position. And the final in-car camera, Marcus Ambrose. Carrying the Monroe in-car camera. Thomas Mazzera, in fact, will have to start from pit lane. He had a crash in qualifying. As Lee said, the team had to work very hard to get it ready for the race. He didn't record a time, so he has to start from pit lane once the rest of the field's gone.
Weather conditions here today are absolutely perfect. I mean, earlier on the sun was out, but now the sun's gone in. It's good for the drivers now, Neil, isn't it?
It is good for the drivers, but this is going to be a tough event. I think that 1 hour around here is going to see these guys being very busy boys, but in particular when you add the second and third events, it's going to be a physically tough thing, as I mentioned in the opener.
Not everybody's as supremely fit as you, though, Neil, are they?
Give me a break.
Craig Lowndes slots into position 14, and considering where he was after normal qualifying, that's a long way back, and he has his work cut out. Can Ambrose win his first race of the year? He's won a round, but never won a race in the Shell Championship Series. He's hoping to do that for himself and Ford. And the Ford race analysis, 32 starters, 48 laps. It equates to 150 kilometres in the pit window for compulsory tyre change, the compulsory pit stop between laps 2 and 35. Who will come in early? Who will stay out?
That qualifying lap of Craig Lowndes was the worst in the world, and I couldn't believe it.
Get ready. We begin the final round of 2001. The V8 Ultimate at Sandown. Scaife and Kelly side by side. Murphy gets away. Kelly's coming through from position 3. Greg Murphy gets the best of the jump, though. And Murphy picks up where he left off in New Zealand.
Larry Perkins had a shocker and has drifted right towards the back of the field after qualifying very strongly.
That was a brilliant start from Murphy, though. Scaife just spun the wheels as
Cars roll, and it's McConville.
Look at that,
McConville's gone over. Yeah. One of the problems into turn 1 down there is the road narrows up on the left-hand side. McConville's been caught out. Not sure what triggered that, but I saw it in the background, and substantial damage, and that, I'm sure, will bring out the safety car.
Yeah, that's in a really bad place there, because if anybody's going to go off at the end of the straight, that's going to be right where it is.
Very unusual to see with these cars rolling.
Field sort themselves out up the back straight, and McConville is out of the car. He's okay. Safety car is on the circuit. The SC signs being shown. Yellow flags will be waving. There's Cameron McConville.
And boy, that just shows the strength, the crash integrity of these cars.
Look at this.
Massive accident. He's been able to walk away just with a bit of a shaking by the look of it.
Neil, talk us through the Shell Helix replay.
Well, it looks like Larkham made contact with McConville after being squeezed by one of the Holden Young Lions cars. Rodney Forbes was there as well. It looked to me like it was 3 or 4 cars into one don't go. Here's another angle on the Shell Helix replay. Yeah, Forbes down the inside, the EA Sports car there, and Larkham making contact with McConville. Hard to know who was who in the zoo there, but one of the things that happens down there, if you actually look from overhead, on the left-hand side of the road, the left lane disappears as you go into turn 1. What happens is everybody gets heavily committed to making a passing manoeuvre into the first corner, which is normal procedure, and all of a sudden they run out of road at the worst moment.
Down here at the Lansvale Smash Garage, guys, and Wally Story and the boys have been paying pretty close attention to the monitor 2 times this season, once at Winton, now here at Sandown. Gee, it's been tough for you.
It's very hard work, Greg, yeah. In a team where you're dog paddling, and quite frankly, here we've been dog paddling anyway, we haven't quite had enough pace. And we really didn't need that. We're not short of work to do, and we are short of people to do it. But, I mean, if you play the game, you deserve what you get, I suppose. You know, that's part of it, isn't it?
Have you spoken to him? How is he?
I tried to ask him on the radio if he's all right, but I'd say he's unplugged it already. I saw him on the TV, though. He's out of the car and he's walking, so I'd say he's all right.
Hard luck, Wally. Thank you.
If you look at the back of Cam's helmet, it looked like he had a pretty much of a bang on the back right-hand side of his helmet as well. That would have been a real shake-up to be in there.
Here's another view again, and you can see that there's 4 cars trying to battle for position there. Forbes on the inside, and then... ultimately, I think it was Larko that made the contact, but you have to look deeper into that, and you might even have to look further back. Another angle again from above. At least it was at low speed.
You may have noticed a shocker of a start by Larry Perkins. He was, after a good performance in the top 15, he was up there, but he dropped many places. He doesn't know what happened. The team asked him, what, did it stall? He said, I don't know, it just shut down, and he had to restart it 3 times before he could fire it up again.
There's the safety truck and the McConville car being loaded on to the flat tray, and that is the end of his day. And well, it's a little hard to judge if they'll be able to get that car ready for tomorrow. That's pretty major damage, though.
It looks pretty bad.
Yeah.
The things I think people at home may not comprehend is the massive amount of work that goes into building this car in the first place. And when it's damaged to that level, the amount of work of pulling it apart, fixing it and putting it back together again, it is an incredible amount of work.
When you look at the cages in the cars now, absolutely so integral. It's such an integral part of the stiffness of the complete rigidity of the car, isn't it?
Larkham in for repairs. You can see the team trying to hammer that front guard away from the tyre, and Larkham looks like he's back in the race.
So Larkham is back out there, the entire field behind the safety car. Greg Murphy leads the way after a fairly dynamic start. He beat Scaife off the line. Todd Kelly in the second Kmart car got away to a neat start as well. More from Sandown right after this. A very eventful start to the V8 Ultimate here at Sandown. You've just joined us. Cameron McConville rolled the Lansvale Smash Repairs Commodore. We've been under safety car just for a couple of laps, and we are getting ready to go racing. There is the remains of that Commodore that needs a lot of work.
There's a Falcon that needs a little bit more work too. You saw Larkham come in for some quick repairs to stay ahead of the safety car. Here comes the safety car now. So Larkham looks like he's going to go down a lap, I think.
We should go green this time round. The safety car has peeled off. We are back under green, and they begin the chase after Greg Murphy. Car 51, and Larkham has come back out on the circuit in front of the field. He's got some work to do to stay ahead of them. Boy.
Well done by Larkham's crew to get him back out, but here is the race lead. 2 Kmart Commodores. Greg Murphy continuing the form he showed in New Zealand. Blasts off from the rolling start. Mark Larkham back in second. Todd Kelly in third, and Marcus Ambrose, the best of the Fords, up in fourth.
Greg Murphy will try and get away here. The pit window is now open. They can pit to complete that compulsory pit stop for tyres as of now.
Fantastic sight as they come up the Ford straight. First time around, top speeds approaching 260 kilometres an hour. Yellow flags waving there. Hold the cars in as they come around. Take each one's marshal's posts. Warning the field that the track is now green and back to full racing.
After New Zealand, Murphy's certainly on a roll, isn't he? No doubt about that. He's pulled out quite a lot of ground, hasn't he?
It's on a bit of a charge too, because he's trying to close up. There is a chance that Murphy can finish second in the championship here.
Pit window's opening, guys, so just keep an eye out here. We might see Greg Murphy peel into pit lane. There's a lot of them that are queued up to do it, but interestingly, HRT coming quite early. They've opted to stay out.
Ambrose is in, Greg Murphy is in. So the race leader peeled off to complete his compulsory stop. Neil, what about tyres in this situation? Pitting this early to go that distance, not a problem in terms of durability?
Well, these guys have shown great tyre durability throughout the course of the year. He's held up badly by other cars coming into the lane there. A lot of people are opting for this early strategy. Ambrose has cleanly made his stop and integrated back into the group.
He's come out in front of Greg Murphy. That's the significant thing. The Stone Brothers team did a brilliant job in turning Marcus around, but that was because Murphy got held up a little bit coming out, and that's a big move by Marcus Ambrose.
Not only did he get held up there, but they also had a problem with the right front tyre. The wheel gun was dropped, so then they had to pick that up. The wheel nut then wouldn't come off. Lost valuable seconds, somewhere around the vicinity of 5 seconds in that pit stop.
So with those guys...
Looks like I'm sorry.
Cold tyres doing that for Ambrose. Everybody's back out on cold tyres. To answer that question more accurately, Lee, it puts a lot of faith in that second set of tyres to run for almost an hour. One of the issues you have here at Sandown is that turn 4, which brings you onto the back straight, where Marcus is now, turn 10, the final turn, and probably out of Dandenong Road, turn 8. They both, all of those are second gear corners, all three of them, and very easy to develop wheel spin, very easy to burn up the right rear tyre. It will be a factor because this is a pretty long, hard pound around here.
So Marcus Ambrose is the first car on track that's made his compulsory stop. Here's Tom Kelly, teammate to Greg Murphy. So all the lead cars coming in very early, lap 6 of 48, so no one's playing a different strategy here. It's significant though that Mark Scaife's chosen to stay out there. I wonder if he's going to run a similar strategy to what we saw in race 2 in New Zealand, where he came in pretty much middle race distance to change to his second set.
First of the Shell cars, they've been serviced. That's Paul Radicic. Steve Johnson, who started 17th, has worked his way up to 8th. He is yet to pit. Probably 50% of the field have pitted already. Scaife is the race leader from Jason Bright. It's an HRT 1-2 at the moment.
I think you'll find that, and you say these things and then you get shot down, that Scaife and Bright are likely to stay out there for a while now. Of course, if there is a safety car incident, then that's going to work against them. But if you can run on this set of tyres for a little longer, you're going to have another set that are younger for longer. They'll probably peel off and make a goose of it here.
Just had a word to team boss Jeff Grech. They're crunching the numbers down here at the moment just to back up what Neil was saying. Because they're concentrating on second in the championship for Jason, they may bring him in very shortly. The original plan for Mark was to leave him out as long as possible.
Yeah, and the good thing for Jason Bright and his cause in that scrap for second is Mark Scaife can assist him. Mark's got absolutely nothing to lose. The championship already wrapped up.
I need to stop and think about time and calendar here, but we've not run a long race on these tyres at this circuit. We've run longer races here in the past, 500k races, but not on this particular tyre. So we're sort of stepping into the unknown a little bit here in terms of tyre durability.
Speaking of tyres, let's not forget too, Barry, that this is the final race meeting on Bridgestones. Next year we go to Dunlops.
Yeah, there were a couple of the guys this morning that were saying after 5 or 6 laps, the edge has definitely gone off the tyres. So you'd have to say if you could get away with it without a safety car, it'd be the right thing to do to stay out and get a decent run out of the first set of tyres.
Everybody will have looked carefully into it and they'll have monitored this appropriately in the practice lead up to the race, but it is an issue. And I think the fact that this is a little bit longer than some of the other pit stop races we've had during the year, but not a full-blown endurance race, the strategy will be an issue here. Cars and their tyre degradation or otherwise will play out some sort of strategy game.
From Monroe, in-car camera, we ride with Vertec Ford's Marcus Ambrose.
You see everybody straight lines that little turn 7 curve there, and you can see that the wheel tracks go right across the grass. This is out of the Dandenong Road end of the circuit. That's the main grandstand up in the distance. Very bumpy on the approach here to 9. A little short squirt in second gear, and that brings them back onto the front straight. Busy circuit, not a lot of time to relax. It's very bumpy on the pit entry apron area there.
It's a great move by the Shell team to get Radicic out there, because these guys are a lot further down in the order, but they're the first 3 to have made their stops. Problems here for Rick Kelly. Having his first drive Holden Racing Team car. And the team will be celebrating the launch of the new HSV Coupe this week. And His drive in the car was seeing a little bit of a promotion for the product, but that's not the sort of start they wanted for young Rick.
Race leader Mark Scaife, and these positions aren't exactly accurate because some have pitted, some haven't. It's Scaife, Bright, Ingle, Seaton, Ellery, the top 5, Lowndes, Morris, Bargwanna, Jones, Tander. That's the top 10 at the moment.
And Scaife's got 3.2 seconds over Bright as we look at Glenn Seaton coming in to take his stop.
Fastest lap so far, 1:12.16 to Scaife, so he's the fastest man on the circuit. He had the fastest lap on lap 6 as well, so he's punching out some pretty fast times at the moment.
And that is quick even compared to last year's Shell Championship round here.
Guys to keep your eyes on though, Radicic, Ambrose and Murphy. They're 17th, 18th and 19th in the queue. There they are on shot now. But they're the first of the cars to have made their compulsory stops, so it's going to be interesting to see whether Scaife can pump out a useful enough lead to maintain the lead when he comes in for his compulsory stop.
And we'll keep our eyes on this because Greg Murphy, no doubt about it, has bridged the gap to Marcus Ambrose. Ambrose had quite a healthy margin over him when they came out of pit lane, but Greg has been working very hard and he's right on Radicic. That's Marcus Ambrose. Then Murphy's the third car in line.
Yellow flags being displayed up on that end of the circuit with the debris flag. That'll be for the Kelly car. You can see it. I think there in fact may have been some oil on the road there. There it is off on the right hand side entering the back straight area.
So fantastic work by the Shell team to get their man up in that position. Paul Radicic, Marcus Ambrose and Greg Murphy. They're slowly moving up the order board as the other cars come in for their compulsory stops. Here comes Jason Bright, first of the Holden Racing Team cars to peel off.
Well, Bright comes in, guys, a crucial stop, as you mentioned. The clock ticking here. Robbie Starr on the front left, changing the tyres. Let's see how he goes against the clock. 9 seconds gone already. That's a good stop by Bright.
What's the speed limit?
Water Escape started to strike some traffic. A 1:13.4 his most recent lap. He did a 12.1, and here comes Kelly.
And in the background, Marcus Ambrose, Radicic and Murphy's making an inside move, trying to get something on Marcus Ambrose here. Will it work? Yes, it will. Nice work there from Greg Murphy. Watch the switchback from Ambrose. The Pertec Ford side by side with the Kmart Commodore, but Murphy makes that move stick.
That Commodore does look good, doesn't it? There's no doubt about it. I mean, it turns in great, it sticks like glue.
And terrific ride on the road, strong under brakes, good with the power down. I went and watched them on the final turn. I went and watched them yesterday at turn 1 as well. And all 4 of the TWR cars were just launching off, in particular the final turn, pretty strongly.
So you're effectively watching the battle for the lead here. And those 2 great stops by HRT and Kmart have got Jason Bright, Todd Kelly, Paul Radicic, Marcus Ambrose and Greg Murphy.
Sweaty time for Bright because he's on cold tyres there, Mark, and he was doing his darndest to defend.
Oh, heavy company through turn 1. Marcus Ambrose.
No doubt. This doesn't look very friendly, does it?
Brad Jones, Paul Romano and Garth Tander. We had word from the ground that they were 3 abreast coming onto the main straight. Shell Helix Race Score updating the positions. Remember, when you see the blue box with P in it, it indicates that they have performed their compulsory pit stop. None of the top 8 have done it as yet. None of the top 12 have done it as yet.
Tony Longhurst buying into that little scrap as well.
As Brad Jones goes to the outside as they crash the rise at the back of the back straight.
Oh dear, that looks like it could end in tears.
Fantastic. Oh, that was a good move.
Just watching those guys battling away there. There's also a bit of a game of strategy going on. Just had a word to John Panozzo from the Valvoline Cummins race team. They're looking at bringing the guys in and around lap 15. Brad Jones, well, his brother Kim tells me around lap 16 to 20.
Brady's just got outmanoeuvred as a result of tangling up there with Romano, with Tander going by him. It's interesting that you can actually pass on the outside at the second last turn, turn 9, but it puts you in ideal position for the final corner, and Garth made that one work beautifully.
Bargwanna and Tander started 19th and 20th respectively, and they are now 5th and 6th respectively, but yet to pit.
Scaife's just done another 1:12.61. He's one of the fastest men on the track at the moment. Paul Romano gets back onto the track, or does he? After that scrap, he's trying to find his way around to pit lane.
Might have a flat tyre, actually.
Right front,
He's spent a lot of time off the road there, and he's actually limping back towards the pit entrance at the moment.
Oh, Murphy up the inside of Paul Radicic. So Murphy picks up a position. You see how quickly he closed on the Shell Ford. Took the opportunity to pass. So the Kmart Commodore is really on the march.
The margin first to second, that's Scaife to Ingall, 7.3 seconds. The curious thing now is to have a look and see what sort of lap times everybody's doing when they get into settle down mode, and who's the most strongly positioned of those that have pitted and just how far they are behind the leaders. So we'll work on those numbers for you.
This Kmart Commodore is unbelievable at the moment.
Yeah.
The feeling in that team, they're riding high on confidence after a stunning round in New Zealand. So Murphy is on the move. Shell Helix race score as we grind on. 12 laps down of 48. We're at quarter race distance. A long way to go. This is the V8 Ultimate from Sandown. Stay with us on your home of motorsport, Network 10. You're watching the V8 Ultimate from Sandown on your home of motorsport, Network 10. There's some fantastic battles at different places around this 3-kilometre Sandown circuit. But the Kmart Commodores, they are powering on. Likewise, the Pertec Ford, the Shell Ford, they're all in it. They're further down the order, but the best of them seems to be down around Jason Bright in 12th position, 13th Todd Kelly. They're the guys that have completed their compulsory pit stop, and boy, are they setting a cracking pace.
And if you look at this and do some very rough Crompton sums, and I can tell you they're rough, that the likelihood is if we've got Romano leaping out of his car, when this shakes out at some point, I reckon Scaife will come back out in the lead unless they fumble the stop, but I reckon that Brighty will in fact be second.
So here's Scaife. He's chosen to stay out longer than any of those other guys in that pack. 13 laps of 48 gone. And Scaife is still punching out some fast times. A 1:12.5 his previous lap.
Yeah, you look at it by comparison to everybody else's. The only other quick one is Brighty, 1:12.2.
Word from the ground, Steve Ellery has received a stop-go penalty. Now, don't forget, you can stay up to date with everything, v8supercar.com.au, and that will even keep you up to date during the off-season as well, any stories that break over the Christmas break. And while you're on the internet, check out dreamdrive.tv as well. Certainly well worth a look.
Interesting to see when Mark Scaife does decide to peel off. He'll probably try and take it up to around lap 20, lap 25.
I reckon, I don't see him rushing that at all at the moment. The
Scaife, I reckon this lap, mate.
There you go.
He's going to keep getting traffic, and we should have a fair enough gap now.
So the team confident they can get Scaife in and out and maintain that lead position.
Do you notice that it's traffic that they're focusing on there? That's the thing that they don't want to encounter because they know that's going to hurt his lead, which at the moment is 8.9 seconds over Russell Ingall. Tyre degradation doesn't seem to be the issue. He's got his last lap through was a 12.6. By comparison, Brighty's been in the low 12s. So Mark's done 14 odd laps on those tyres and they're still doing mid-12s. They're very healthy numbers.
So the critical gap, if you're watching at home, you're not quite sure of the play here. Mark Scaife is leading the race, but there's still the cars behind him have to make their compulsory stops right down to Jason Bright, who's in 10th, who is the first of the cars to have made his stop. So we're going to get a bit of an overlap here.
Look, there's four cars in the 12s, and they're all HRT. Incredible, isn't it?
Scaife, let's stay with him, and we're expecting him to pit this lap. Race leader, who is enjoying an 8.9 second lead over Russell Ingall at the moment.
Coming in.
And there you hear Mark say, I'm coming in.
Okay, he's about 39 seconds in front of Jason Bright last time through.
He's activated the switch on the steering wheel, 40k pit speed limit.
It's going to be fascinating when we go to the wide shot when he comes out of pit lane to see exactly where Bright is.
So even with a car that was that could be a second a lap slower, that car in front of him, if it knocks a second out of his lap time, it can have a critical impact on whether he gets out in time. So they didn't chance it with the traffic.
Holden Racing team well drilled. Saw some stops in the 9-second bracket earlier this morning when they were practicing. Let's check it out on the Monroe pit stop clock.
Good stop by Mark Scaife. Around about 9 seconds, 9.9 seconds. In fact, I can tell you, Jason Bright is just coming onto the front straight now.
That was very good work. They did a beautiful job of that stop. I mean, it's just clockwork watching these guys. And there's your margin, and there you go. TWR cars 1, 2, and 3.
And 4.
They are just playing with this field, these guys. They just run this operation with military precision.
You see the thing jump out of Scaife's hands when he switched the switch off on cold tyres and let 600 plus horsepower go crazy.
So the order is Scaife, Bright, Kelly and Murphy. They're effectively your race leaders, although they're running a little bit further back in the pack.
Russell Ingall yet to pit. He is now the race leader, but we have yet to see him perform his compulsory pit stop.
You won't believe the time that Mark Scaife just put in for that pit stop. 9 seconds. That's the fastest that we have recorded so far this year in gathering times in terms of pit stops down here.
And that's the time to do it when you're under that kind of pressure. Castrol car in.
This is Russell Ingall. And Lowndes is in as well. Now, he was second on the road behind Russell Ingall. Crucial time for these guys. This has to be good. It's got to be slick and efficient.
Russell Ingall.
Blink, Russell, blink.
Yes,
Blink.
Place of concentration. He's really got the eyes on wanting to get out of that pit lane as fast as possible. And Lowndes has come out fraction in front. Good work by the Gibson Motorsport crew to turn him around that quickly. So they'll bumble their way down pit lane at 40 kilometres an hour. They'll get across that clearance line and they'll be into it. And there goes Lowndes. Here goes Ingall.
There goes Ambrose and Radicic. So they're going to join a little further down the order.
So they've actually benefited from all this. The Gibson Motorsport crew. Larkham actually rounds up Russell there as he rejoins. Because remember that Craig was down in 14th after the shootout, having been second in qualifying. And their strategy has paid off to some extent, slipped him up the order.
That should put him in the top 5 if things continue to fall out the way they are now. That's exactly the way team owner Bob Forbes wanted from this race one. Here's Steve Ellery.
So the order at the moment is Bargwanna, Morris, Tander, Jones and White, but those 5 on the road, the top 5 on the road, are yet to perform their pit stop. So we've got Mark Scaife back in 6th position, who is effectively the race leader. Lap 16 of 48, still a long way to go here at Sandown.
I'm sure there'll be some strategy played out here toward the end of this race. If we end up with the 2 Holden Racing Team cars running 1-2, and Scaife has enough space between the rest of the field to wave Bright through, he will, because they really want Bright to finish second in this championship. Give HRT their first 1-2.
Just to clarify, that stop-go penalty for Stephen Ellery, it was for a pit lane infringement, speeding in pit lane.
Something strange going on with the front right-hand corner of the Morrismobile. There was a problem with that car yesterday, I think, with the front suspension in the front right-hand corner as well. So I wonder whether there's something related to that, or maybe he's made contact.
As we look at Paul Morris, it's an appropriate time to send a cheerio to Big Kev. He has not been well. He's been spending a little bit of time in hospital. So, Kev, I know you're watching at home on the Gold Coast. Get better from everyone here in the Shell Championship Series. Simon Wills in the Cat Ford is copping a bit of a working over from Larry Perkins. Larry collides with the back, and around goes the Caterpillar Ford. And they're further down the order. They were in 18th and 19th position when that incident happened. Now Simon Wills is a lot further down the order. Team Kiwi car comes through on the inside, and Dougal McDougall behind them.
Larry made an absolute dreadful start, and he dropped right towards the back of the pack, so I'm not quite sure what happened there as Morris comes in for attention to that front.
Well, they've been cursed with this car, haven't they? First car built in-house by Big Kev Racing. And Matt Neal stuck it into the concrete wall at Oran Park on debut, and they've had nothing but troubles with it since. Look at this.
I reckon old Larry was gritting his teeth. The last 3 feet of that would have done him no good at all.
Yeah, and you can see he got stuck into the brake pedal to try and avoid. He locked the rear brakes, but he only got about 1/zillionth up the side of the car, and he needed to be at least halfway. And didn't get the job done.
Only 2 cars out on the track that have not done their pit stops as yet. Bargwanna and Tander, the 2 Gary Rogers, Valvoline, Cummins cars. They're first and second on the road, but we still need to see them come in and get some fresh tyres on. This is Mark Scaife, car 1 and number 1 in the championship. Great scrap going on here between the 2 Fords of Marcus Ambrose and Craig Lowndes, determined to make up for his mistake in the top 15 shootout. From 14th on the road, came up as high as second in this race. Has done his pit stop, and this is a straight line drag, and Lowndes wins it hands down.
Wow. Was he going to run out of road? Oh, yes.
Big time.
Did a Larry. Remember Larry?
He did that a few years ago in an HRT car. It was actually quite a few years ago now, and he went barreling all the way down there in the grass, and he stopped it. I don't know how you do that on the green stuff.
So once Bargwanna and Tander have peeled off, this will be the battle for 5th between the 2 Ford drivers, with those 4 TWR Australia Commodores ahead of them. Mark Scaife, Jason Bright, Todd Kelly and Greg Murphy, absolutely dominant at Sandown Park this weekend. There's Paul Morris.
That was a serious move. It made my hands sweat.
Talking to his engineer, Paul Sepradich there. Maybe not able to continue in this one.
This car's got some reasonable pace at the moment. It looks like. It seems like Craig can drive it hard, and it's not knocking around the rear tyres.
He really enjoys driving at Sandown. As far as the sprint rounds are concerned, he's had 4 race victories here, of course all in a Holden. Updated positions on your Shell Helix race score. Bargwanna, Tander still lead the way on the road. We need to see them pit.
Radicic is up there in 7th now, so he's in front of these 2 Fords. So Radicic is the best place of the Falcons, behind the 4 TWR Holdens. Just incredible. Look at the performance so far. The 4 teams, for all the promise they held at the end of the, or the beginning of the year, I should say, they've still got a lot of work to do. Holden teams have won double the number of rounds of the Falcon teams and more than double the number of race wins. So Holden's still very much the dominant force in V8 supercar racing.
That car of Lowndes looks really good now, doesn't it?
Well, he's just driving away from Ambrose.
It does look good through the fast S's. It looks really nice.
It's not upset by those big bumps or the curving. Looks like Marcus might be struggling a little bit with the rear tyres with that car, just a fraction.
Paul Morris, what was the trouble?
It's a power steering problem in the rack. It's leaking fluid onto the front tyres and onto the track, so safest thing to do is just fix it.
Maybe the season finale, but there's been a few I'm excitable moments this year.
Yeah, there definitely has been, mate. Yeah.
I like it.
Thanks.
They need to bring Bargs and Tander in now because they're really suffering with their lap times really badly.
Here's Larry Perkins performing his stop-go for ramming into the back of Simon Wills.
Larry, you got to stop. That's apparently specific wheels out.
That's exactly right. Lee just confirmed that with the officials a couple of seconds ago. That altercation, the driving infringement as they call it, has warranted a penalty for Larry, and the first of the Valvoline Cummins cars making its way into pit lane. Looks like Barg set for a stop.
We're approaching the halfway mark of race 1. 3 150-kilometre races this weekend at Sandown in the V8 Ultimate. And right up on Marcus Ambrose. This is Russell Ingall.
Ambrose starting to fall into the clutches of the Castrol Commodore. Saw him right in there in the thick of things in the battle with Craig Lowndes. Lowndes now has sprinted away from that battle. He's got Paul Radicic in his sights. Radicic currently the top-placed forward. He'll be in 5th spot once Garth Tander peels off to make his compulsory stop. Here comes Ingall up the inside. Ambrose gives him room. Obviously struggling here.
That's 2 positions in 2 laps that Marcus Ambrose has dropped.
Well, he's just opened the door there. He knows he can't fight.
See, it's a long way around here, an hour odd 48 laps. It really is. And I always knew going into this weekend that the format was likely to produce variance in the different performances of different cars and teams, the way they got the cars set up, how they look after their tyres, the way different guys drive them. Oh, someone goes for a tour at the beach, and it's Tander.
That was our race leader.
Not anymore.
Oh, you've made it.
The last of the cars not to have made his compulsory stop. He was leading this one, but now he's thrown that out the door. So Mark Scaife will take over as race leader, and he's made his compulsory stop.
And as you'll see on our Shell Helix race score, it's looking very good for Jason Bright because Mark Scaife can help his teammate out. Don't forget, it is the battle for second, the 13th and final round of the Shell Championship Series. And the Fords are scrapping out a little further back as well with Radicic, Lowndes and Ambrose, who seems to be struggling a little and dropping positions. Plenty more to come from the V8 Ultimate here at Sandown. We are grinding through and we're almost right on halfway distance. Craig Lowndes has disposed of Marcus Ambrose. The next one on his list is Paul Radicic. You're watching the battle right now for 5th. And Lowndes is really on a surge.
Caught right up to Paul Radicic. After that brilliant stop by the Shell team to get him out in good track position. Ford in-car camera. Look at Lowndes starting to attack the rat now.
He's got very good consistency in the car at the moment, and you can see even by the way Paul's car was positioned that he's just got a bit of a struggle on his hands. So this will be a good battle. Paul locks the front right a little bit going into 9. If Lowndes makes a good exit here at 10, that might make Paul vulnerable at the other end here. He was slow on the exit. He's going to just simply outdrive him. That's not horsepower, it's just traction.
Hasn't Lowndes' car got some bite out of those turns? Really getting the paddle down well. Look at this drag race in a straight line though. The DJR car comes back, and that is horsepower.
That is horsepower. You notice the way Lowndes rests his elbow up against the door? He does the old rock thing there.
And in the background is Russell Ingall. Russell is looming, and here he comes there in the background, hanging around. Now let's see if Lowndes can sort of escape from Radicic in similar fashion to Marcus Ambrose, where he simply just drove away. Look at that.
Right about the corner, really good now. When you see Craig's qualifying lap, it's have to be a nightmare for him.
Pushing on. Have yourself a drink.
Have yourself a drink. Yeah, I'll have a rum and coke, please.
They always have to remind Paul to have a drink. So often he just gets so focused on his work that he allows his body to dehydrate because he just doesn't think about having a drink. They've got to prompt him all the time. Anthony Pratt.
That's at Holden turn.
Right, that's safety car city again.
Yeah, and it doesn't really, I don't think it's going to impact anything because all the stops are out of the way and it just brings everybody back into contact with each other. It'll actually put a bit of pressure on in a few places.
Well, wouldn't mind putting some money down right now that Jason Bright's going to win this race.
Why do you say that?
Because I think if they're still running 1-2 at the end of this one, Scafie will wave him through.
Well, this will make it interesting if the safety car indeed does come out. They'll bunch up nicely. Shell Helix replay of Anthony Tratt's incident at turn 1, Holden turn. Remember a few years ago in the 500 when it was raining here? There was just so many incidents on that turn.
Aquaplaning at the end of the straight.
Well, it was wet in the opening session yesterday, and there were people complaining that it was still quite slippery down there in the resurfaced area.
Safety cars on the circuit.
6.6 seconds. Scafe's got over Bright now, so he's going to lose that.
So they'll bunch up nicely and it'll make it quite interesting between Kelly, Murphy, Lowndes, Radicic. Ingles on a forward move. Ambrose is 8th, Seaton is 9th, and Stephen Richards, so the 2 FTR Falcons inside the top 10. And Stephen Johnson has done considerably, well, he's done very well. He's come from 17th to 11th, so he's made up a nice 6 places, just pushing the outside of the top 10 there.
So TWR Commodores 1, 2, 3 and 4. Craig Lowndes the best place to the Falcons at the moment. He's 5th. And he's got Radicic, Ingle, Ambrose, Seaton. There'll be a big queue of cars there. Seaton's done well to get into the top 10 here. And his teammate Stephen Richards, the last drive for FTR, in fact, this weekend, he's in the top 10 as well.
Well,
someone racing a tractor out there?
Either a chainsaw or something.
TWR Australia came here this weekend with 5 cars, and the 5th one's off the side of the circuit. The remaining 4 are in the top 4 positions. Scaife, Bright, Kelly and Murphy.
The way these cars are performing, they should prepare every Commodore in the field, I think.
Neil, have you been impressed with Todd Kelly?
He's doing a super job this year, and he's definitely lifted his game, and you know, he's headed the time charts on many occasions. He's had some fabulously solid results. So yeah, the short answer to the question is yes, I have been impressed.
Just had a word to Ross Stone from Stone Brothers Racing, and they believe that Marcus's neck may be hurting him a little bit more than he's letting on. His times are dropping off, and you can see that once he was passed by the Castrol car, that just pulled out. He is persevering okay. They're talking to him. He's talking around. He's coping with the neck problem, but it just seems it might be affecting his times out there this afternoon.
Yeah, he said he was.
The guys were talking earlier about the TWR Commodores here this weekend at Sandown. Rick Kelly, you teamed up with the Kmart guys for the endurance rounds, but you were flying solo for the first time at Sandown. What happened?
Oh, I think it was an engine at this stage, but it was good to get my first start and a few laps in and get a feel what it would have been like out there. So it was a bad luck, I guess, but I'm happy to have the start.
You're in the car that Mark raced at Indy, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. The car's been good and the guys have been good all weekend, so it's a bit unfortunate for us, but hopefully we'll get back out there for the second 2 races.
Todd's keeping the family name out there, though?
Yeah, sure is. Hopefully gets out there and wins the races.
Hard luck.
Thank you.
Boy, he looks so young.
I was about to say, is he old enough to hold a licence?
When you think back like 15 years ago, the touring car situation out here, what the average age of the driver was. You look at it now, it's unreal, isn't it?
He's had his road licence for a year. He's 18. He's great prospect. And that is the younger brother of this man on screen, Todd Kelly, the 22-year-old, and Rick, 4 years younger.
Interesting situation in the points. After qualifying the top 15 shootout, there was 84 points between Russell Ingle and Jason Bright, and 69 points between Bright and Murphy. So any one of those 3 cars could be in the battle for second here.
We shouldn't be too far away from green racing conditions. We're under caution because Anthony Tratt spun off at turn 1. That forced the safety car to come out. It's Scaife, Bright, Kelly and Murphy, the top 4. Craig Lowndes on the surge and trying to push in amongst those TWR Australia cars. Glenn Seaton remains in the top 10. Bargwanna, after he pitted, was at the top on the road. He's fallen back to 13th, just ahead of Paul Wheel, and Larry Perkins after that stop-go is now outside the top 20. Welcome back to Sandown. This is the V8 Ultimate. The action continues. We're in the latter half of this race. We're going to try and talk with Pertec Ford's Marcus Ambrose. Marcus, it's Lee Diffie. Can you hear me?
G'day Lee. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very well. More to the point, how are you and how is the neck?
Neck's going okay, but the race is going a bit pear-shaped for us.
Tell us about it. What's happening, because you've been swallowed up by Lowndes and also Ingle. Can you hang on to it? Can you handle this pace?
Yeah, this safety car's been good for us because it gives my tyres a bit of a chance to cool off. I cooked them too early there on those heavy tanks. We were one of the first to stop, and you know, the tyres just couldn't hang on. So I'll try my very best. We're suffering little bit of traction coming out of the slow speed corners, which makes it difficult. But give it a good shake.
Come on, Marcus, you can't let us down. We're all relying on you.
Sorry, Baz, didn't hear you, mate.
I said, you can't let us down, Marcus. You know you're my hero.
Well, Baz, I'm getting a bit of a hiding from all the people that speak to me, so you look after me too well. So, yeah, I've got to put in a couple of bad performances.
Well, enjoy the rest of the race, Marcus. We'll let you get on with it. We'll get on with it as well. We believe the lights are out on the safety car. We should be back under green very shortly. And he needs to tag onto the back of Russell Ingall to stay with this front group.
Marcus makes a good point. Sometimes in the safety car periods when the tyres cool out, actually get a second life, and you can actually get back in the game again.
Here we go. We're back under green. Look at the two HRT cars up front. Will Scaife let Jason Bright through so he can enjoy time in front and win this race, get the points. Don't forget he's scrapping for second. Look at this
there
now.
You go.
Scaife takes the inside, Bright the outside. They go side by side, but Scaife doesn't let him through. Greg Murphy goes through on Todd Kelly though, and Lowndes is hanging round. So Murph moves up to third position. He's now pressing on Jason Bright, and don't forget they're two of the three that are scrapping for that runner-up position in the championship.
It could be interesting with the two Kmart cars. I wonder what they've been told as far as. What was that?
Well,
that was Mark unhappy.
I picked that up actually.
Well, look at Greg Murphy. No doubt about it. Todd Kelly let Greg Murphy by. Greg is in a higher position in the championship, and there's a lot at stake for the Kiwi now. He's starting to apply the blowtorch. Look at this. Bit of a hiccup here with the HRT.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Elbow to elbow.
Yeah, really. That's not in the script, is it?
No.
I bet old Jeff Greck's down there going.
Look at the two Kmart cars as well in stereo. Look at this.
Well, Todd Kelly on the inside here. Greg has better track position and goes right on through. Thank you very much. And now Todd can protect him a little. There's Jeff Greg. What's happening, boys? What's going on out there?
Should put a heart rate monitor on him more than any of the drivers. Look at this attack under brakes. Very, very skatey under brakes goes Jason Bright. He's got the Kmart Commodore right up behind him.
And Brighty had the rears locked up a bit going on into one then, and he's coming under pressure because the guy that's actually getting stuck into him a bit is Lowndes.
He's flying, Lowndes.
Well, Jeff Greg, you're getting more grey hairs by the second as you watch this, are you not?
I don't know about grey hairs, Rusty, but it's all going to fall out by the end of the race, I think.
What's the plan of attack here? What have you said to the boys?
Sorry,
What's the plan of attack? What have you said to the boys?
Well, the plan of attack was obviously to get to the last 5 laps, but obviously they had second thoughts while they were out in the circuit. So, but look, we'll just press on and see how we go.
He's busy, boys. He's got plenty to watch. Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Scaife is pressing on, and Bright has fallen back into the clutches of Greg Murphy. Watch this. Murphy's very good onto the main straight and down into turn 1. He almost made a move on the last lap. Watch what he can come up with this time.
Jeff spoke for 90 seconds and said nothing.
He's classic, though. He's got such a dry sense of humour.
A lot of speed on this Kmart car. We go on board as Jason Bright starts to fall into the clutches of Greg Murphy. Hard under brakes into Holden turn. 1, 2, 3. Go the TWR Commodores, and Murphy is looking dangerous.
Greg's car is behaving a little better. There's no question. Oh, and I think that was Scaife locked up on the way into turn 2. But no doubt that Murphy's car is just behaving a little better, and he gets a benefit from the hole punched in the air by Bright.
Currently, Murphy is 4th in the Shell Championship Series, but it is mathematically possible for him to finish 2nd in this year's series, and that's exactly what he wants.
Up the back straight, 255 kilometres an hour. Murphy in the slipstream of the number 2 Holden Racing Team Commodore. They touch the brakes, swing hard left. Scaife now opening up a bit of a gap on his teammate, but it's really tough back in this fight for second.
Look at Lowndes. Look at him. Lowndes is going on.
Todd Kelly's driving well. He's handling that pressure. Craig Lowndes, very forceful. The Gibson Motorsport Falcon has certainly run well in this first race. 2 more races tomorrow. Don't forget, we're coming to you from Sandown 1 to 5 Eastern tomorrow afternoon with 2 150-kilometre events.
I think your team boss, Bob Forbes, will be happy with this, Neil, because he wanted to get Craig up in the top 5 for the start of race 2.
Well, it's certainly important to always be in the first half dozen cars if you can be there. It gives you an opportunity to go out and perform at the sharp end of the field. Your options open up far more than when you're buried in the midfield, no question of that.
Look at this. Greg Murphy's got the blowtorch blazing here on Jason Bright. His mirror's full of Kmart Commodore. Gets a little bit untidy as he bounces over the inside, then the outside curve. And he's got to get a good run out of here. The message is turn your headlights on. Maximum intimidation from the Kmart crew.
I reckon that Jason might be suffering from a little bit of understeer with that car, and he's now deciding to curb hop to try and just assist the car to get. Oh, look at the understeer. He's
gone. Bright goes off the circuit. Murphy says, thank you, I'll take second. He has a brief lock-up, keeps it all together. Here comes Kelly. Oh, Bright has come to a halt. Something's happened to Bright's car, and evasive action was taken by Kelly and Bright.
What on earth happened there? He came almost to a standstill. Look, he's getting back to speed now.
It's like he couldn't get a gear or something.
But you can see graphically from that shot on Greg Murphy's car, Jason Bright just went a little bit deeper under brakes that time over the top. It was too deep, and he lost control through the S's.
Kelly. He may have made contact.
Yep.
Slight contact with the rear of Jason Bright's car. It's just enough to rub the guard on the tyre.
Oh, yeah. That's quite a lot of contact.
Yeah, rear, I think it is. It's rear right.
It's rear right.
That scattered the pack, didn't it? Oh, Brighty, he was dog paddling to hang on, and then all chaos left, right, and centre.
Here's the replay. What do you make of this, Neil?
Just went in too deep.
He couldn't get the car to turn in down there, and then once you go wide, there's marbles all over the road, dust, dirt, bits of rubber debris. Car gets cranked sideways. But let's see what happens further back. You see that Murph locks up a little bit at Dandenong Road. Now, what happens here with Jace? He just goes nowhere.
Where Kelly hits him.
Yeah, that's where Kelly swiped him in the world's biggest sprint car slide.
And where did Radicic go? Radicic has disappeared from the screen. Now he comes back on.
Yeah, he was having his own accident.
I tell you what, that would have got Jason's heart rate up a bit, wouldn't it?
And Kelly.
So things looking good for Greg Murphy in his relentless surge to try and get second in this championship. Things falling into his lap at the moment, but he's had Mark Scaife in his gun sights. Fantastic battle in the V8 Ultimate at Sandown.
You ride with Craig Lowndes in the Gibson Motorsport Ford, the AU XR8. He's tried everything on Todd Kelly, but can't find a passage through. Perhaps this is his opportunity now, whilst that rear guard is rubbing on the right rear tyre. The Kmart Commodore continues to go strong, though.
13.3 for race leader Scaife, 13.1 for Murphy, 13.8 for Kelly. Oh, problems here for Jason Bright, continuing to struggle in car 2.
All chaos, Larkham off the road.
So Jason Bright, that whole plan has gone pear-shaped for HRT at the moment.
Radicic was off again there as well. The two FTR Falcons have got by him, and now Jason Barguana's lining up for a shot as well.
There's people in tyre trouble out there.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is what we were saying at the beginning. It's interesting, isn't it, now, because it's into totally unknown territory as far as tyre wear.
I guess people don't equate Sandown as being a particularly tough circuit on tyres now, but there's so much low-speed power down work. I guess if you're not careful, you can really fry them up.
Well, I made that point a little earlier in the telecast, Mark. You've got 3 critical areas here where you feed 600 horsepower through these relatively small tyres. Very easy to generate a lot of wheel spin. If you think back to the 500k races here years ago, well, the only place in the country where you always saw people having transmission-related problems, gearboxes, clutches, diffs, all sorts of driveline issues, and that's because it's that sort of place.
I'm down here with the new signing for Stone Brothers Racing, Wayne Gardner, a 3-car outfit for you next year. Welcome back to touring car racing in Australia.
Yeah, thanks, Grant. No, it's wonderful to be here, and it's nice to be back with the V8s again. But I'm just down here on a PR exercise today, just to back up to what the news was out the other day, that I've now joined the Stone Brothers Racing team with Caltech's backing. And I'm really looking forward to that next year. But it's only a limited outing at this stage. I think we're at 5 or 6 races next year, and we've got to sit down and work out the calendar. But it's very exciting. I'm really looking forward to it.
After the performance we saw 2 years back in the FTR car, I suppose you're keen to get back in and stamp your name at Australian racing as well.
Oh, yeah, you know, I've got a bit of unfinished business here in Australia, and I've been away motor racing in Japan, and I'll continue to do that next year with the GT series. But I think I've learned a lot, and I'm looking forward to putting that into practice tomorrow. So, yeah, next year. So I'm really looking forward to the challenge. That should be great.
We'll see you in 2002.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
Chief spends that much time in Japan. I'm surprised he can speak English anymore.
Craig Lowndes now has Todd Kelly in his sights. Lowndes is looking right down the barrel at 3rd position. That's the Kmart car, car 15. Todd Kelly. He's only got Greg Murphy and Mark Scaife ahead of him.
Oh, Radicic off.
Oh, dear.
That's the last corner.
Stephen Johnson got past Radicic as well a couple of laps ago. If you look at Ingles' time now, Ingles
Longhurst smoking, and I reckon Ingall's all over the back of Lowndes. It looks like he's making a bit of a pace comeback. And damage on the right rear for Tony's car. Radisic was having trouble grabbing reverse down there in the final corner as he tried to climb back on.
So with 13 laps left to run here at Sandown, and Longhurst gets out of shape. The order is Scaife, Murphy, Kelly, Lowndes, Ingle, Ambrose, Seaton, Bright, Bargwanna and Richards. That's the top 10.
Here's the replay, and one of the FTR cars has made a dive. I think it's Stephen must have gone up the inside of Paul. Very slowly.
Really. waiting.
Very slow-mo replay. There's Matthew White. Yep. That's the ex-Dale Breed Commodore. And not a good weekend for Matt so far. Greg Murphy, though, trying to track down Mark Scaife, Todd Kelly. The big movers, Craig Lowndes and Russell Ingle coming into the picture now. Marcus Ambrose, Glenn Seaton and Jason Bright having a shocker.
Further back, Steve Johnson trying to put his press on the top 10. More after this. Craig Lowndes making the move on Todd Kelly. That was good enough to get him up into the top 3, and Lowndes has remained there ever since. Jason Bargwanna and Stephen Richards, one former Valvoline team driver and the current one. They were having a nice old scrap, but Stephen Richards was turned around and dropped quite a few positions. Mark Scaife continues to lead this first of 3 150-kilometre events, and he goes from strength to strength. 3.2 seconds he has over Greg Murphy, and we have just heard that Greg Murphy has been handed down a stop-go penalty for curb hopping. So the second place driver will be absolutely livid.
Here he comes down pit lane very, very slowly. 40 km/h speed limit imposed by the onboard speed limiting device on every car. And here he comes slowly up to the stop-go penalty area, gets the green. Let's have a look where he rejoins relative to the rest of the field.
In Seaton going through.
And Garth, so
as Bargwanna goes through, so he's 10th. He's rejoining 10th.
Yep.
2nd to 10th. It doesn't help the championship points.
They did issue a bulletin about it's not the curb hopping, it's flattening the hats, running over the hats. Right. And I need to reread it and double check the wording, but the idea was that people had one life and then they'd be given a warning, and then if they went over the top of them again, that was it. Bradley's been a big mover. This is kind of Bathurst form revisited for him. He's obviously done a good job with his group of people to keep the car working well on all 4 tyres and keeping life in the rears, and so he's now battling onto the back of Stephen. He's 11th, and he's looking pretty menacing here at the moment. The car, once again, not real strong in qualifying, but it's a great race car.
Well, to highlight the outstanding performance from Jones and the Aussie Male Falcon, he started 23rd and is 11th, so he's made up 12 positions and really pressuring Steve Johnson. Perhaps could break into the top 10, and we only have 3 laps to go here at Sandown.
Good thing is for Craig Lowndes from Murphy's stop-go penalty, this puts this man up into 2nd place. And if he finishes there, he'll start on the outside of the front row alongside Mark Scaife. That'll be a thrilling moment.
Well, the old gods are shining down on Russell today, aren't they? With Murph getting his legs slapped and
Bright making a mistake.
Yeah, exactly that.
So to update that, of those 3 that are dicing, dueling for the runner-up position in the championship, Ingle now takes top status. He's sitting 4th on the road. There he is right there behind Todd Kelly. So it's Scaife, Lowndes, Kelly, Ingle, Ambrose, the top 5.
Rob Crawford in particular does.
So Kelly continues to grind on. It'll be a very strong performance from the 22-year-old to finish on the podium here at Sandown. And what is effectively his rookie season, it's been a marvellous performance from him. He continues to learn the craft of V8 supercar racing as we now begin the closing couple of laps here at Sandown. 2 to go.
Gee, Murphy will be frustrated by that stop-go penalty. We were just trying to do the sums on him. It closed the gap to Jason Bright in championship points by about half. So it was really on a march there in terms of closing in on that 2nd place in the Shell Series, which would have been a brilliant finish for the team in their first year under TWR. But now he's got to work very hard. Look at him fighting back here.
Coming past Bargwanna, he's got 9th now. 8th now, yeah.
So up to 8th. Murphy continuing to grind forward. As Neil Crompton said a number of times, this is a very tough weekend. 3 150-kilometre races with the starting grid for the next race determined by the previous one. So if Murphy can continue this relentless push, he could find his way well up the grid by the time this event is over tomorrow.
Neil, when you see how hard Murph's going now and seeing how good the car is, I mean, that is a really good motor car.
It is an excellent motor car, and he's also been driving it well. And be interesting to see what 1 lap to go now for Mark Scaife. It'd be interesting to see whether or not he was given a warning about leaping over the hats. The difficulty, of course, with the stop-go is that there's no way of undoing it. Once the damage is done, it's done, and you can't argue about it afterwards. It's summary justice on the spot.
5.3 seconds. Mark Scaife is simply cruising. So this one will be another victory in the bag. That will make it win number 9 for season 2001 for the back-to-back Shell Series champion. And a very, very strong performance. Good opening stint. Stayed out longer than most. Great pit stop. A 9.9 second pit stop by the HRT outfit. Very, very slick in every sense of this race.
And it's been fastest on virtually every lap of the race, hasn't it, really?
So half a lap to go. Scaife from Lowndes, the former teammates, now rivals. And back in third, Todd Kelly. So Scaife is bringing it home in the first of 3 races for the V8 Ultimate. Last year at the sprint round here at Sandown, it was a Ford banquet. Well, Mark Scaife is changing that right here and now for 2001. We've got 2 big ones to come tomorrow, but he starts the weekend with a victory. Mark Scaife takes out race 1 at the V8 Ultimate in fine style. 5.3 seconds, the margin of victory. Craig Lowndes comes across the line, and that's an encouraging performance from Craig Lowndes, and Todd Kelly will finish on the podium. So, well done to Mark Scaife. Another fine victory, and Lowndes will be inspired by his performance after starting from 14th, finishing 2nd. The Shell Helix race score indicates those positions. Russell Ingall, a very good performance in 4th. Jason Bright worked his way up to 5th. Ambrose, Seaton and Murphy in the top 8. Back to 9th, Jason Bargwanna managed to remain in the top 10. And Brad Jones was there as well. Don't forget, 2 races tomorrow, 150 kilometres each. We've run out of time here at Sandown. Thanks for joining us on your home of motorsport. Join us tomorrow from 1 Eastern. See you then.